Long live the Flying Scotsman! Go!
In the summer of 2009 and the spring of 2011, a team of dedicated individuals led by TV presenter James May rebuilt the 10-mile stretch of railway line from Barnstaple to Bideford in North Devon in 00 gauge. And in the summer of 2024, I took a trip down to Devon, and while I was there, I visited the area where it all took place. I started my journey at London Waterloo Station, which is also where Oz Clarke started his journey, funnily enough. The route me and Oz travelled on is the West of England line, which was once part of the Atlantic Coast Express route, with the Barnstaple to Bideford line also being part of the route. What was once the pride and joy of the Southern Railway is nowadays merely just a slower alternative route to Exeter and the South West. Despite that, it remains a popular route as tickets are usually cheaper and the Class 159 Sprinters that run services along the route are said to have more comfy seats than the Class 800 and 802 trains. As someone who's travelled on both, I can say that the Class 159 has the superior seats. On the 13th of August, I walked down to Exeter St David's Station and got the train up the Tarka line to Barnstaple. Today, thanks to the beaching cuts and Ernest Marples' insatiable lust for tarmac, it is the only railway line that goes up to North Devon, with some pretty big towns like Braunton, Ilfracombe and of course Bideford currently cut off from the national network. Barnstaple used to be a junction station for the lines that led to those towns, and was named so accordingly. But when they all closed and had their tracks pulled up, it became just Barnstaple. And today, places like Ilfracombe continue to struggle without any sort of rail connection. The line to Bideford had its tracks pulled up in 1985, and is now part of the Tarka Trail. And this is where the team, led by James May, rebuilt the line in 00 gauge, twice. The first attempt took place on the 24th of August 2009, and about 60 different community groups, including the Scouts from North Devon, collaborated to help build the line, which was made up of mostly semi-flexible track, with 160 car batteries powering the whole route, which turned out to be problematic later on down the line. The 5 trains selected to run along the line were James May's 1972 model of the Flying Scotsman, with realistic chuffing sound, a rebuilt Bully Pacific, Ottery St Mary, a Class 42 warship, a Class 37 and a Class 395 Javelin. The second attempt took place in April 2011, and unlike the first attempt, which was single track with passing loops, it was a double track line in order for trains to pass each other. It was built using long straight track pieces, which are far more durable than flexi-track.
It is designed to be pretty much indestructible.
To lay the track, Sim created the Track-O-Matic, a machine built specifically for laying 00 gauge track over long distances. And while it only required a handful of men to operate, rather than 400, it was quite a bit slower than expected, with the track laying starting the day before the race and ending at 7 AM on the day of the race. Each team had 4 trains, 1 steam engine, 1 diesel or electric engine, and 2 experimental trains. The trains on the British team were the freshly refurbished 1972 Flying Scotsman, a HST, Sim's duct tape fan express, which got into a pretty nasty crash.
The journey from London to Paris could be quite quick briefly and then fatal.
And Dr. Ben's hydrogen fuel cell transport solution. On the German team was a BR-58, a Class 403 Donald Duck, the Sauerkraut Screamer, which exploded spectacularly, and a lithium battery-powered train.
This train can be a rocket train.
Barnstaple acted as the starting point in both attempts, as well as the finishing line for the German team. In both cases, the trains had to navigate the car park, which required using planks of wood to make bridges and gradients for the trains to traverse in order to reach the Tarka Trail. In the first attempt, the Flying Scotsman didn't make it very far, only going 30 yards or so before being prematurely withdrawn.
That's a shame, it didn't get very far.
The other trains were more successful as they managed to clear the car park and make it to the Tarka Trail. In the Great Train Race, after suffering from teething troubles, the Flying Scotsman pulled out of Barnstaple to claps and cheers from the audience and made its way through the car park en route to Bideford, with the BR-58 departing shortly after en route to Barnstaple. It ended up being the last engine to complete the race, arriving there at 2:20 in the morning. The car park is also where the Donald Duck suffered a catastrophic gearbox failure 100 yards or so short from the station. Despite that, they managed to get it running again, and despite running at a reduced speed and stalling on the incline, it arrived at Barnstable before the HST arrived at Bideford, securing the German team 1 point. And despite also suffering a gearbox failure that forced it to run at a reduced speed, this time a good 2 miles away from the finish line, the lithium battery train limped its way into Barnstable. Today, a fair bit has changed since then, such as the replacement of this fence and this grey pillar, the addition of this signpost and a flower bed on the disused platform, and the Class 143 Pacers have been withdrawn and replaced with the Class 158 Sprinters. The next stop is Fremington Quay and its accompanying station, which opened on the 2nd of November 1855 and closed on the 4th of October 1965. What was once the busiest port in the southwest, mainly for exporting bull clay and importing coal, is now a place for cyclists on the Tarka trail to stop off and get either a light snack or a full lunch. When you look at it like that, it sounds like a bit of a downgrade, but it's still a really nice place that serves really nice food and is surrounded by beautiful scenery. They even serve ice cream for dogs! In the first attempt, this is where Miniature Wonderland was set up, a series of winding and meandering tracks laid on planks of wood and decorated with buildings made by the locals.
British building, German organisation. Could have been worse, it could have been the other way around.
It was also the goods train's final destination, leaving the remaining 3 trains to slug it the rest of the way to Bideford. In the Great Train Race, in order to maintain a constant speed, the track was laid straight through the old platforms rather than meandering around them. It's also where the team driving the Donald Duck stopped for an ice cream after gaining a pretty big lead in the diesel-electric race.
Good ice cream. Perfect.
Since then, the station buildings have been repainted and the sign replaced, along with a new entrance built behind the signal box. The next stop after Fremington is the seaside town of Instow. The railway station opened and closed on the same day as Fremington. It used to have 2 platforms, but in the present day only 1 platform survives. That down there is the old track bed where the monorail used to be. There you go. And over there is Instow level crossing, the signal box, the station and the semaphore signal over there. This is where the Javelin Train burnt out for good at 1 o'clock in the morning on the first attempt.
Now, I'll be honest, I am bitterly disappointed that we haven't got to Bideford, because that would have been a magnificent achievement.
It's also where the Donald Duck started suffering from motor problems thanks to the higher voltage causing it to become stressed. At Instow, a short section of track still remains, where they simply laid the double gauge track on the rails using wood, rocks and metal to help prop it up. Today, not much has changed, although the totem is looking a bit worse for wear. The signal box is maintained by the Bideford Railway Heritage Centre and is sometimes open, although on the day I went it was closed. Other than that, there's not really much to do in Instow unless you're a member of the local yacht club, but it has a very nice beach and very calming atmosphere, so if you're ever in North Devon, be sure to stop by and take in the surrounding scenery. And the final stop is the port town of Bideford, and just like the other 2 stations, it opened on the 2nd of November 1855 and closed to passengers on the 4th of October 1965. The station, along with the railway line, remained open for goods traffic, as well as the occasional special passenger train, until 1982, when it was closed completely. Today, it is where the Bideford Railway Heritage Centre is based, with exhibits in the replica signal box, a Mark I coach, and a Southern Railway PMV van, where Oz and James had a nice little chat.
And as usual with you, I've ended the day more knowledgeable than I was at the start.
And as usual with you, I've ended the day wetter.
They also have a BR 20-ton brake van and a Planet Diesel shunter, which sometimes operates along a short section of track south of the station. It wasn't running when I visited. In the first attempt, none of the trains made it to Bideford thanks to several factors that caused the aforementioned motor failures, such as deliberate acts of vandalism, including theft of some of the track pieces and car batteries, dropping coins on the track causing a short circuit, the storm washing up dirt that got onto the track and affected the flow of electricity to the engine's wheels and pickups. But the thing that ultimately killed it was the way the power system was set up. In the first attempt, the entire 10-mile stretch was powered with 160 car batteries, with no way to turn the power off, meaning that if a train derails and needs to be put back on the track, it would have to be held in place, causing intense strain on the motor. In the Great Train Race, the track was divided into 100-meter sections, electrically isolated from each other, and each train had 2 batteries which were plugged into the track by operators, who would leapfrog each other when given the signal, so that when a train derailed and needed to be re-railed, it wouldn't interrupt the other trains along the line, allowing for a more successful run for both the British and German teams. Bideford acted as the starting point for the German team and the finish line for the British team. After travelling in the wrong direction and coming off the track, the BR-58 pulled out of Bideford en route to Barnstaple, with the Donald Duck and lithium battery train following suit, with the rocket train engaging in civil war with the BR-58 for a bit there. The first of the British trains to arrive was the HST, and despite losing to the Donald Duck, it was still greeted by claps and cheers from the crowd as it pulled into Bideford. The second train to arrive was Dr. Ben's hydrogen fuel cell transport solution, which after the lithium battery train got crippled and forced to run at a reduced speed 2 miles short of Barnstaple, left the hydrogen powered train the clear winner. And just to rub it in, they refitted the Thomas shell to it, which was removed after leaving Barnstaple because it was causing stability issues. It scored the British team their first point, and like the HST was greeted to claps and cheers from the crowd.
Hello, said Thomas.
The final train to arrive was James May's 1972 Flying Scotsman. After passing Yelland Crossing, it suffered a central chassis block failure so bad the whole thing needed to be replaced. Thankfully, the engine was able to be repaired and was back on the move again, and was able to complete the 10-mile slog to Bideford, with James getting rather emotional and giving Oz a celebratory hug.
That's the first time you've ever allowed me to embrace you in all the time.
Honestly, man,
While I was researching, I found amateur footage of the Flying Scotsman pulling into Bideford, showing that the locomotive derailed and had to be put back on the rails again, something that the people making the programme definitely didn't want the people watching on TV to see, as it would have disrupted the flow and ruined the moment. Regardless, it scored Team GB a second point, thus making them the winners of the race. Quite a bit has changed since then. The Mark 1 coach used to be Southern Green, but is now Crimson and Cream. The PMV van has been turned into an exhibit, and the accessibility ramp into the coach has undergone numerous changes. In Model Railway Madness, it was a sort of beige colour, and at some point before the day of the attempt, it was repainted green as seen in this clip. It retains this look in the Great Train Race, and at some point was either replaced or repainted silver, and now has 2 nice flower beds. Even the Planet Diesel shunter has been repainted, now sporting a British Rail black with the Cycling Lion early emblem, which I think looks really nice. If you're ever cycling along the Tarka trail, make sure to stop off at the Bideford Railway Heritage Centre. Admission is free, so you have no reason to not stop off there. Trains do run on occasion, but the team are currently replacing the rails, which at the time of writing the script, they've just completed, so Planet should be running again soon. Check their website and their Facebook page for more info. And that's it for James May's 00 gauge railway, and the route it ran along. I gotta say that visiting these places, knowing that something like this was happening, was kind of a surreal feeling. But either way, it was still fun travelling to these places after seeing them in the episodes, and just taking it all in. North Devon is a really beautiful part of the world, and it's programmes like Toy Stories that show off these parts of the world and make us wish to visit them for ourselves. It's actually what spurred me to spend a week down in the West Country, albeit mostly Devon, during the summer. And combined with all the other attractions that caught my fancy, I thought it'd be the perfect opportunity to go see where it all happened. And I had a good time all around.